Hey poetry pals, welcome back to another video on my channel, and the weekly video thing is happening. We are week 3 into 2019. For those of you who don't know, my resolution was to post weekly videos. I'll be putting new videos out every Sunday, so make sure you are subscribed to catch them. We are doing well. I am week 3, this is the 3rd video, and for this video I'm going to be starting a new series on my channel called Not a Proper Book Review. I'm going to be reviewing poetry books, sometimes not poetry books, you know, maybe I'll dabble in a bit of prose, but I'll be making videos about poetry books and having never ever written a book review or even researched what makes a good book review. I've set the standard really low, letting you know from the outset that this is not a proper book review. This is just my opinions on it, and yeah, we'll see what you think. So the first book that I want to review for this series is Let the Pig Out by Chris Redmond. Chris Redmond is part of Tung Fu. They are a live improv band that invite poets and spoken word artists to perform their poems with them. No practice, just get on stage and perform. And I've seen it, and they're amazing. And Chris sometimes warms up the show by doing a couple of his own poems, and a couple of those poems are in here, and yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, new look. Who dis? Sorry about the costume change. Turns out I lost all the footage from the first time I filmed this video, so I'm refilming it now, and I'm wearing a completely different outfit. I've got a lip and no eye, whereas last time I had an eye and no lip, and got a different mug this time. So let's actually get on with this video, because it has taken me too damn long. Okay, so the book we are doing, this. It's published by Burning Eye Books. Burning Eye Books is the biggest spoken word publisher in the UK, and I have many Burning Eye books on my bookshelves, so if you like this you can find them online, just Google Burning Eye Books. But yeah, so I'm going to break this Not a Proper Book Review down into a few sections, the first of which is aesthetics. And this one, I really like the cover of this book. It is really nicely designed. It perfectly captures the ragtag nature of the poems inside and all the different subjects that are talked about, and yeah, it's really nice. I like the cover. My only thing I dislike about the aesthetics is I just don't like the font that the poems are in on the inside. I'm just a strong believer that fonts should be serif in poetry, so they hook you in. But that's so minor, it's got nothing to do with the actual poem, so we're gonna move on. And the first thing that we're gonna talk about in depth is actually the opening poem. For me, I think that the order that you present your poems and the way you choose to print them in a book for people to read is really important. Just as you spend a lot of time as a spoken word artist crafting a set and the journey that you take your audience on, you need to put in the same amount of effort into where you're taking your readers. So the opening book for this one, the opening poem for this one is called Dartmoor, and it does everything that an opening poem should be. It is nice and short, and it gives you a little idea of what the collection's going to be. It's called Dartmoor. It looks like that on the page. See, it's only about a half page, and it's just about sort of driving through Dartmoor, and yeah, we've all been there when we're driving along and we look out the window and we're feeling our artist's fantasy, and we're thinking that we're so deep and misunderstood, and then something happens that ruins it. And that's basically what this poem is about. And it's about this sort of like search for spirituality and on a drive, or artist or creativity or inspiration, whatever you want to call it, and how it doesn't always work out that way. And I think that sort of matches with the themes of this book quite well. Throughout the whole thing, Chris takes situations where talking about like being an artist and a musician and everything that means, and then looking at the practicalities of that with bringing up a family, and how the realities don't necessarily match the expectations. So I think this is a great opening poem. It's nice and short and it's to the point, and it's a great way to start the poem. I think generally the order of the poems as you go through are really nice. They sort of take you on a journey through the poems, which is quite funny because quite a lot of them are about like driving or cycling somewhere. So that's quite interesting that I chose the word journey, but that you sort of work your way through the themes. So you start with Dartmoor, Speed Freak, Ford Transcendental, A Cock on the Froome Road, Bird Penis, and Peter on the Fox, which are all to do with sort of travelling. And then you sort of get into these more teaching, music, artist moment. Throughout that is the theme of family. So I think like the theme of it is really, really good. And the title poem, Let the Pig Out, falls about 1/3 into the collection. Let the Pig Out is one of my favourite poems in the collection. So it makes in my opinion, it makes a very good title piece. It also, makes a really sort of good manifesto for Chris and what his poems are all about. And it's about a young guy learning to drum and struggling with that, and the speaker giving them advice to just let the pig out and be creative, and just let the pig out. Just let the pig out. And I really enjoyed the poem. I found it simultaneously bizarre and invigorating all in one go. And yeah, Let the Pig Out makes a great title poem. I think the placement within the collection is really, really great. And yeah, the other thing I really like about this poem is that you can read Chris's musicality in that. And I don't just mean because he's talking about drumming and music. It's because it is written with such a rhythm and such a driving, intense rhythm that you cannot help but hear the beat behind it. So not only is he writing about drumming, but it's almost like his writing has a drum beat behind it, and you can hear that. And you can hear that behind a lot of his poems actually. And even though I've seen Chris perform live and do a few of these poems live before, sometimes it's really hard for spoken word artists who can put so much into their performance of a poem. It can be hard for those poems to stand up on the page, and especially to carry that musicality across that Chris's poems have. And it's a real skill, and I think Let the Pig Out is a really good example of that. It's delightfully weird, and you've got to read it. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but you've got to give it a go. So I'm going to move on to the closing poem, which is called Fires. And I'll be honest, it's my favourite poem of the whole book. It is, it's just beautiful. It's about his daughters who, at the time of writing, are very young. They use Daddy as a climbing frame, and they've got this amazing imagination, and he's writing about that and all the weird and wonderful things that young girls come out with. And then he thinks about when they grow up and watching them set fire to the night is the final line. So he's thinking about his daughters growing up and setting fires to the night, and I just think it's a really beautiful image to finish on. I think there's almost like a little bit of a conflict, not necessarily a conflict, but a contention between like him as an artist and him as a dad, and like trying to resolve those two things, and sometimes one sort of takes over than the other, and sort of like that sort of struggle for balance. But with this one, it's just so beautiful. I just love the ending, and if anyone knows what my poetry is about, then well, hopefully you'll have watched Grief Cycle, and you'll know that I love a good dad poem. So that one was my personal favourite. It's really, really beautiful. So now I'm gonna do talk about like the poems that I personally didn't find as successful, and then I'm gonna give another honourable mention. For every poem, every collection that I'll review, I'll give you my favourite poem, my least favourite poem. But this one had so many bangers, and the favourite was already the closing one, so I'm just going to give it a special mention to my other one. So for me, the least favourite poem, I've actually got two. One was the Speed Freak one, which is about social media. Well, no, it's just about how fast life is, and you know, Chris talks about like wanting to slow down, and I just find that it is quite fashionable in poetry to dislike social media and to talk about how bad it is, and how back in the day before social media, life was so much better. And I mean, it's not just a poetry thing, it's a people thing, isn't it? To think that like, oh yes, life was better then. And I'm not saying that Chris is, I don't think Chris is fully guilty of that, and actually it's just like, and as the genre goes, I don't think that his poem Speed Freak is the worst example of it, but it definitely falls into that sort of rose-tinted spectacles moment for a time before smartphones. And I just think it's just a personal thing for me, and maybe it's because I work in social media, but I just think like the technology isn't evil, it's just the way we use it. And so yeah, that's just my personal thing. I just get real defensive about social media. Maybe I should write a poem about it. And then the other one is, oh god, what's it called? It's the one about jazz. In the Key of G. My reason for not liking this one as much, and I feel like I've got to stress as much, is just because I don't know that much about music and jazz, and so there's a lot of just references that I don't get, and I had to actually go and Google stuff. I think I've seen Chris perform this and it is very funny, but I did find myself laughing and pretending to laugh so that people would think I got the references when I didn't. So I don't know if that's a criticism of the poem or a criticism of myself, but hey man, this is not a proper book review, and I'm allowed to say what I want because this is my review, not yours. Anyway, we're going to move on to the better poems now, or at least in my opinion. So personally, the opening poem, the last poem and the title poem are all really, really good, but I couldn't let this... I just read the Grammar Wars with a 2-year-old, and that is funny as well. But the one I wanted to talk about was Ford Transcendental, which I just love. It's great, and it doesn't look like a poem on the page at all. It's more of the storytelling vibe. Like, it goes all the way across the page. We've got a bit of script style stuff here, and it's great, and I just recommend you reading it. It's about being on the road and other drivers being like dicks and then driving through a rainbow and how it totally changes your perspective on life. And I just love it. I really, really love it. And yeah, it's just great. It's just random and eclectic and bizarre, and I think it's just another great example of Chris's writing. And so yeah, so in conclusion, this book is a pass for me. I haven't got a rating system. This is my first episode, so I don't have a rating system, but I read this all in one go. I've read it twice and I really enjoy it. It's the sort of thing that I keep coming back to again and again and again, just because in the last year I've been reading a lot of quite dark and depressing poetry, because that is what I've been writing and that is what people have been recommending to me, because I've been writing a collection about the death of my father. So I've been reading a lot of death poetry, which is fine, like they're still good, but sometimes you just need a break and you just need some random happiness, and that is exactly what this book is. I definitely recommend that you check it out. You can buy it if you ever see Tung Fu live. Just go and see Tung Fu live first of all, and then buy this book and read it and love it. I'm currently passing this around all of my friends so that they can read it as well. It's just a good romp. It's a good romp. So yeah, buy it. You can probably buy it from the Burning Eye website, so just search Burning Eye books, buy it from there, or buy it from Chris in person. Who knows? Chris, if you're watching this, put a comment below to see where people should buy it from so that you make the most money from that purchase. So let us know down below. Thank you. That's it, you guys. Thank you so much for watching episode 1 of Not a Proper Book Review. I will be trying to do a book review once a month. So if you've got any that you think I should give my opinions on, by all means let me know. Although I have a substantial poetry shelf that I will be making my way through and I will be giving you my opinions on. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you have subscribed, and if you've read Chris's book, let me know what your favourite poem was. If you haven't read Chris's book, let me know what your favourite poem is in general. And I'll see you next week for my next video. What am I going to do? Who the fuck knows? I will see you then. Bye.